In a world ravaged by climate catastrophes, 75-year-old João tends to the last green oasis amidst a desolate landscape. Once thriving cities now lie buried beneath encroaching deserts, silent testaments to humanity's hubris. But here, in this small patch of life, hope still blooms. João's weathered hands, marked by decades of toil, carefully nurture each plant in his garden, a vibrant defiance against the barren world outside. Every morning, as the harsh sun breaks the horizon, he surveys his domain, rows of resilient vegetables, hardy fruit trees, and carefully preserved flowers that seem to glow with an otherworldly beauty in this bleak environment. The challenges João faces are relentless. Water, once taken for granted, is now more precious than gold. He battles daily against unforgiving sandstorms that threaten to bury his life's work. The crushing solitude of being one of the few survivors in this region weighs heavily on his shoulders. Yet, João perseveres. Why does he continue this seemingly futile task? What drives a man to cultivate life in the face of such overwhelming odds? Perhaps it's the stubborn refusal to let the world forget what once was, or the deep-seated human need to create and nurture. As João tends to a fragile seedling, his eyes filled with a mixture of determination and tenderness, one can't help but wonder, is this garden merely a futile act of defiance against nature's wrath, or does it represent something more profound, a seed of hope for humanity's future? The gentle rustle of leaves in the artificial breeze of his makeshift greenhouse is a stark contrast to the eerie silence that envelopes the world beyond. It's a sound that speaks of life, of possibility, of the tenacious spirit that refuses to be extinguished. In this garden, João isn't just growing plants, he's cultivating the very essence of human resilience. As the day progresses, each drop of water he carefully administers, each leaf he tenderly examines, becomes an act of faith, faith in a future that seems impossible, yet somehow, in this small green haven, feels tantalizingly within reach. 20 years ago, the world João knew ceased to exist. Global warming, long ignored by those in power, reached a tipping point. Extreme droughts and heat waves ravaged entire ecosystems, transforming lush landscapes into barren wastelands. João, once a respected botanist, watched helplessly as his colleagues fled to the few remaining habitable areas. But he couldn't bring himself to abandon his life's work. What drove him to stay when everyone else left? Was it stubbornness, hope, or a sense of duty to the plants he'd spent a lifetime studying? As João reflects on the past, memories flood back, of vibrant rainforests teeming with life, of fields bursting with crops, of gardens where children once played. Now, those places exist only in his mind. The contrast between then and now is stark, almost unbearable. Yet, it fuels his determination. João's garden isn't just a means of survival, it's a living archive of plant species on the brink of extinction. Each seed he plants, each cutting he nurtures, is a battle against time and the unforgiving elements. But the stakes are higher than mere survival. If João fails, decades of botanical knowledge and unique species could be lost forever. Is he the last guardian of Earth's botanical heritage? The weight of this responsibility is immense, yet João bears it with quiet dignity. As he works, he often wonders, will anyone ever see the fruits of his labor? Is there a future generation to pass this knowledge on to? The isolation is perhaps the cruelest aspect of his existence. Once, he was surrounded by colleagues, students, and family. Now, his only companions are the plants he tends and the occasional bird that visits his oasis. How does one maintain sanity in such solitude? João finds solace in his daily routines, in the small victories of a new sprout or a successful harvest. But in the quiet moments, when the harsh wind howls outside his shelter, doubts creep in. Is his effort futile in the face of such global devastation? Yet, each morning, he rises with the sun, ready to face another day of challenges. Because in this garden, in this small pocket of green defying the encroaching desert, João isn't just preserving plant life, he's keeping the flame of hope alive for all of humanity. Dawn breaks over the desolate landscape, and João is already awake. His aged bones protest as he rises, but there's no time to waste. Every drop of morning dew is precious, a lifeline for his garden. With practiced efficiency, he sets about collecting this meager water supply, his movements a testament to years of honed routine. But is this daily struggle worth the effort? What keeps him going when each day brings new challenges that seem insurmountable? As the sun climbs higher, its heat becomes oppressive. João's wrinkled hands, calloused from years of toil, carefully tend to each plant. He employs ancient techniques of water conservation and arid soil cultivation, knowledge passed down through generations but now more crucial than ever. Every seed planted is a battle against hostile nature. How many will survive? How many will wither under the unforgiving sun? Suddenly, the wind picks up. João's eyes widen with fear as he spots a wall of sand on the horizon. A sandstorm, the garden's greatest nemesis. Time seems to slow as he races against the approaching tempest. With frantic energy, he covers delicate shoots with improvised shelters, his heart pounding with each gust that threatens to undo months of work. Hours pass in a blur of flying sand and desperate measures. When the storm finally subsides, João stands amidst his garden, exhausted and dehydrated. The damage is severe. Plants lie broken, precious soil blown away. For a moment, despair threatens to overwhelm him. Is this the end? Has nature finally won? But then, as he clears away debris, a sight stops him short. A tiny green shoot, somehow untouched by the storm's fury, pokes through the sand. In this fragile sprout, João sees more than just a plant, he sees hope, resilience, the stubborn persistence of life itself. It's a poignant reminder of why he continues this seemingly impossible task. As twilight approaches, João takes stock of the day's losses and small victories. His body aches, his spirits waver, but that spark of determination remains unextinguished. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but also new opportunities. He'll rise again with the sun, ready to coax life from the unforgiving earth. In the growing darkness, João ponders the broader implications of his struggle. Is his garden a futile stand against the inevitable, or a vital link to a possible future? Are there others out there, fighting similar battles in their own corners of this ravaged world? The night brings no answers, only the soft sounds of a world holding its breath, waiting to see if humanity, and nature, can find a way to thrive once more. In the face of relentless adversity, João's inventive spirit flourishes. Necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention, and in this harsh new world, innovation is not just beneficial, it's essential for survival. João's greenhouse, a patchwork of salvaged plastics and repurposed materials, stands as a testament to human ingenuity. But is it enough to withstand the increasingly volatile climate? Inside this makeshift sanctuary, João experiments tirelessly. He crossbreeds plants, seeking hardier strains that can thrive in this unforgiving environment. Each success, no matter how small, is a triumph against extinction. Yet for every plant that adapts, how many species are lost forever? The weight of this botanical holocaust weighs heavily on João's conscience. Water remains the most precious resource. João's ingenious drip irrigation system, crafted from discarded bottles and tubes, delivers life-giving moisture with miserly precision. Every drop is accounted for, every plant's needs carefully calculated. But as he watches the water level in his storage tanks drop day by day, a nagging question persists: how long can this oasis last? As the seasons change, though the distinction between them grows ever fainter, João learns to read the subtle signs of his altered world. He anticipates dust storms by the particular howl of the wind, predicts rare rainfalls by the behavior of the few resilient insects that still buzz around his garden. This hard-won knowledge is his most valuable crop, but who will he pass it on to? Loneliness is João's constant companion, more oppressive at times than the relentless heat. The occasional bird that visits his garden becomes a cause for celebration, a reminder that life persists beyond his small green haven. He talks to these winged messengers, sharing his hopes and fears. In their brief presence, he finds a lifeline to a world beyond his isolation. But even in solitude, João's resolve strengthens. Each day brings new challenges, forcing him to adapt, to think creatively. He's no longer just a botanist, he's become an engineer, a meteorologist, a survivalist. This constant evolution keeps his mind sharp, warding off the despair that lurks at the edges of his consciousness. As João surveys his domain at day's end, he ponders the future. Will his efforts make a difference in the grand scheme of things? Is he preserving a slice of the past or sowing the seeds of a new beginning? The answers remain elusive, but the questions drive him forward, fueling his determination to see another sunrise, to nurture another seedling, to defy the odds for one more day. The day dawns like any other, the relentless sun climbing over the barren horizon. João begins his morning routine, muscles aching with familiar fatigue. But as he reaches the garden's edge, something stops him cold. There, in the loose sand, are footprints, human footprints. The implications send his mind reeling. After years of solitude, could there really be others nearby? Or is his isolation finally playing tricks on his aging mind? João's heart races as he examines the tracks. They're fresh, unmistakably real. A turbulent mix of emotions washes over him: hope, fear, excitement, suspicion. Who could be out there, surviving in this wasteland? Are they friend or foe? The possibilities are both thrilling and terrifying. After careful deliberation, João makes a decision. He gathers the finest fruits and vegetables from his garden, arranging them in a weathered basket. With trembling hands, he places this offering at the entrance to his property, a gesture of goodwill to these unknown visitors. As he steps back, questions flood his mind. Will they accept his gift? Or will this act of kindness be met with hostility in a world where resources are so scarce? Days pass, each sunrise bringing renewed anticipation. João finds himself constantly scanning the horizon, hoping for a glimpse of these mysterious others. The waiting is agony, filled with conflicting emotions. Part of him yearns desperately for human contact after years of isolation. Yet another part fears change, the disruption of the careful routine he's built. Finally, one morning, João approaches the garden entrance with bated breath. The basket is empty, save for a scrap of paper. His hands shake as he unfolds the note, eyes drinking in the scrawled message of gratitude. Proof, at last, that he is not alone in this desolate world. This simple act of communication opens a floodgate of possibilities in João's mind. Who are these people? How many of them are there? How have they survived all this time? The questions are endless, each one sparking a mix of curiosity and apprehension. As the reality of this discovery sinks in, João realizes his purpose has shifted. His garden is no longer just his lifeline, it's become a beacon of hope for others. The weight of this responsibility settles on his shoulders, but it's a weight that invigorates rather than burdens. Standing at the threshold of this new chapter, João faces a pivotal decision. Will he reach out further, risking the safety and solitude he's grown accustomed to? Or will he remain cautious, continuing this silent exchange of goods and gratitude? As the sun sets on this momentous day, Joao contemplates the path ahead, knowing that whatever he chooses will irrevocably change the world he's come to know. Joao's discovery of other survivors marks a turning point in his solitary existence. With renewed purpose, he expands his garden, driven by the knowledge that his efforts now sustain more than just himself. The once silent landscape now buzzes with a new energy, an invisible connection forged through acts of kindness and shared survival. Regularly, Joao leaves baskets filled with fresh produce and carefully wrapped seeds at the entrance of his property. Each offering is a leap of faith, a message sent out into the unknown. Will these gifts foster goodwill or attract unwanted attention? The risk is ever present, but Joao chooses hope over fear. As days turn to weeks, a silent dialogue begins. The baskets are always emptied, sometimes replaced with notes of thanks or small trinkets, a piece of useful scrap metal, a spool of thread, once even a battered book. These exchanges, though wordless, speak volumes about the resilience of human connection. Joao's botanical knowledge takes on new significance. He carefully selects seeds that are hardy and high-yielding, hoping to empower others to start their own gardens. With each basket, he includes handwritten instructions on cultivation techniques adapted for this harsh environment. Is he planting the seeds of a larger recovery? Can these small acts of sharing knowledge spark a revival of agriculture in this barren world? The invisible community grows. Notes begin to appear with specific requests or offers to trade skills. Joao finds himself not just growing food, but cultivating a network of hope. He imagines others out there, tending to fledgling gardens, spreading green life across the wasteland. The thought fills him with a joy he hasn't felt in years. Yet, this new connection brings challenges. Joao must carefully ration his resources, balancing his own needs with those of the unseen others who now depend on him. The pressure to produce more, to innovate faster, weighs heavily. There are nights when doubt creeps in. Is he doing enough? What if his supplies run out? The responsibility is immense, but so is the reward of purpose. As his garden flourishes, so does Joao's spirit. The loneliness that once threatened to consume him recedes, replaced by a sense of belonging to something larger than himself. He may never see the faces of those he helps, but their presence is felt in every plant he tends, every basket he prepares. This hidden community becomes a source of strength and motivation. On days when the heat seems unbearable or the challenges insurmountable, Joao thinks of the lives he's touching, the hope he's nurturing. It pushes him to try new techniques, to experiment with crops that might thrive in this changed world. As the sun sets on another day of labor, Joao surveys his expanded garden. What started as one man's defiance against a dying world has grown into a lifeline for an entire community. In the fading light, he allows himself a moment of pride. But with it comes a question that both excites and terrifies him: what next? How far can this network of survival and hope expand? And what role will he play in shaping the future of this reborn world? As the years pass, Joao's garden evolves into something far greater than he ever imagined. It's no longer just a haven of survival, but a living testament to human resilience and the power of community. The once solitary botanist now finds himself at the heart of a network of survivors, each contributing to a shared vision of renewal. Realizing the importance of preserving his knowledge, Joao begins meticulously documenting everything. His weathered hands, which once only tended to plants, now spend hours each day writing. He records cultivation techniques, details about adaptive plant species, and innovative methods for conserving water and soil. But is this enough? Will these written words truly capture the essence of his life's work? Joao's journals become a blend of practical information and philosophical musings. He ponders the nature of humanity's relationship with the earth, questioning how they arrived at this precipice and how they might forge a different path forward. These writings are his legacy, a roadmap for future generations to rebuild in harmony with nature. But will anyone be left to read them? The invisible community continues to grow. Notes exchanged become more frequent, more detailed. João learns of small settlements forming, of children being born into this harsh new world. With each piece of news, his resolve strengthens. He's no longer working just for survival, but for a future he may never see. Despite his advanced age, João finds new energy in his purpose. He experiments with creating seed banks, developing techniques to preserve genetic diversity for the long term. Every success, no matter how small, feels like a victory against the dying world. But time is his greatest enemy now. Will his body hold out long enough to complete his work? As João's reputation grows, his garden becomes a pilgrimage site of sorts. Though he never meets them face to face, he knows that people travel great distances to leave messages, to seek advice, to draw inspiration from the oasis he's created. The responsibility is enormous, but João bears it with quiet dignity. He's become more than a gardener, he's a symbol of hope in a world that desperately needs it. In quiet moments, João reflects on his journey. From a solitary act of defiance against a hostile environment, he's become the cornerstone of a community's revival. His garden is no longer just a collection of plants, but a living, growing embodiment of human perseverance. As the sun sets on another day, João looks out over his thriving oasis. The question that has driven him for so long, is this all worth it? Finally has an answer. In the gentle rustle of leaves, in the distant laughter carried on the wind, in the knowledge that somewhere out there, new gardens are taking root, he finds his response. This isn't just survival, it's the first chapter of humanity's redemption. João may not live to see the full fruition of his efforts, but he's at peace with that. He's planted the seeds of hope, nurtured them through the harshest conditions imaginable. Now, it's up to the next generation to continue this growth, to learn from the past and build a more sustainable future. As darkness falls, João picks up his pen once more. There's still so much to share, so much wisdom to impart. In this garden of survival, he's cultivated more than just plants, he's grown a legacy of hope that will outlive him, spreading across the rejuvenating world like the very seeds he once feared were lost forever. Epilogue: seeds of tomorrow. Years have passed since João tended his last plant. The once solitary garden has blossomed into a sprawling green sanctuary, a stark contrast to the arid world beyond its borders. A young woman, barely in her 20s, walks among the lush vegetation, her fingers gently brushing against leaves and stems. This is Maria, born in the harsh years after the climate catastrophe, raised on stories of the old botanist who defied the dying world. Maria stoops to examine a particularly vibrant flower, a species once thought extinct but thriving here. In her other hand, she clutches a weathered journal, one of João's many notebooks, now treated as precious relics. These writings have become the foundation for a new way of life, a blueprint for harmonizing human needs with the fragile environment. Around her, the garden hums with activity. Children learn cultivation techniques passed down from João, their laughter a melody that would have warmed the old man's heart. Researchers from distant communities study the diverse plant life, seeking solutions to the challenges that still face humanity. The garden has become more than João could have ever dreamed, a center of learning, a seed bank for the future, a symbol of hope. As Maria looks out beyond the garden's edge, she sees the first signs of green creeping across the once barren landscape. Slowly but surely, life is returning to the world. New settlements are springing up, each with its own garden modeled after João's original oasis. The network of survivors he unknowingly cultivated has grown into a web of thriving communities, all connected by shared knowledge and a commitment to nurturing the earth. Maria opens the journal, turning to a dog-eared page. Joao's final entry stares back at her, the handwriting shaky but determined. To those who come after, I may not see the world reborn, but I have faith in you. Learn from our mistakes, cherish every green shoot, and remember, in the darkest times, hope can bloom. The future is in your hands now. Tend it well. A warm breeze rustles through the garden, carrying the promise of rain. Maria closes the book, a smile playing on her lips. The world is still healing, the path forward still challenging. But here, in this garden born from one man's defiance and nurtured by a community's determination, the seeds of tomorrow are taking root. As she turns to join a group of eager students, Maria whispers a quiet thank you to Joao, the gardener who planted hope when all seemed lost. His legacy lives on, not just in the plants that thrive here, but in the resilient spirit of those who continue his work, cultivating a future where humanity and nature flourish together.